Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and looking at its price with logarithmic regression. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also, feel free to give the video a like if you found the content useful. We do have a Telegram community, over 5,000 people. So if you're looking for a community to discuss crypto with, this is my community. So if you want to join it, check it out. And then there's also the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Let's go ahead and jump in. So you guys have seen this chart before, right? It's our logarithmic regression of Bitcoin prices. The green regression line shows our regression fit to non-bubble data, right? So it's to non-bubble data. We disregard all of this bubble data up here where Bitcoin's going into this mania phase. It's hard to really rationally predict exactly how high things can go to a T. But what we can do is look at our support regions and fit those to a regression line to get a better idea of where we are. And despite all of the bullish sentiment recently and the bullish movements by Bitcoin, we're still within our primary logarithmic regression accumulation region, right? This is not financial advice. This is just simply looking at the macro scale and saying, you know what, when we're in this region, it tends to be a really good buying region. And when we're outside of it, it means we're getting into speculative bubble territory. And, we've spoken about this a long time, right? We noticed this bubble form. We saw this crash. And by the way, this was fit well before this crash occurred. It just happened to go straight down to the bottom of it. And we're still business as usual, right? Dynamic DCA Bitcoin is the name of the game. And you can live through the ups and downs and systematically come up with a strategy that will continue to do well in terms of seeing a nice ROI, or you are the dumb money and you just get chewed up and spit out essentially by Bitcoin, and it can do that to you if you're overexposed in the market. So I just want to remind people to stay responsible. Now, a lot of people were saying, Bitcoin it's not gonna make it back to 10.5. It's gonna go back down to 3,100, but it didn't, right? And we speculated this before, right? It didn't, and instead, it's continued to climb. And once we got to 10.5 and then 11K, again, the bears were coming out of all the friendly neighborhood bears were coming out to say we're going back down. But what do we say to those friendly neighborhood bears? Not today. Bitcoin is still climbing, and part of that reason, right, is because of this crash. Every market cycle, we like to see this capitulation, and the first capitulation was back over here. It took us to the top of the regression line, right? We re-entered it later. The second crash from this cycle took us into the regression line. We kind of peeked back out of it, and then we re-entered it, and then stayed in it for the duration of that accumulation, early stages of the bull market, and then we went into speculative bubble mode. First capitulation into the regression line, a bubble later on, then back into the regression line, going to the lower part of the regression line, which was good to see, right? Because this first capitulation didn't really take us there, whereas in this region we did make it to the lower region, the lower valuation region, so the undervaluation regime of Bitcoin. And then now, we're just continuing on up on our merry way, the same path that we drew a long time ago. Nothing has changed, right? It's business as usual. Nothing has changed. We're still not even outside of the regression line yet. I mean, even given the fact that Bitcoin moved from 3,800 up to over 12K, we're still within our general DCA region, right? Our general DCA accumulation region. Now, if we were to go into speculative bubble mode, right, we might do something like we did last time. It doesn't necessarily have to take us to the upper region. I would prefer that it didn't, right? And if you guys follow the channel, we talk about lengthening cycles a lot. So my thinking is that it would be sometime out here when we reach this region. And it would be nice if we did so, right? Because we can see that both of these monotonically increase. I would expect that, we might see some of these smaller bubbles along the way before the final one that could take us up to the upper regression line, which I'm hoping to be somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000, probably closer to 100 than 200,000. But really, you never know. And what's a few K among friends? I want to discuss a point that I'm sure mathematicians or anyone from a STEM background would obviously ask, and that is, well, the regression line depends on what you fit it to, right? I mean, obviously we know it depends on non-bubble data, but if you had fit it over here, it would have looked a lot different than if you fit it, say, to this data, this data, this data, and this data. So to give you an idea, I mean, you're right. If you only fit it to, say, these first data points here, the regression line would have looked like this, and we would have reached $1 million Bitcoin a couple years ago, okay? If instead you fit it to, say, this first region, the second region, and the third region, you can see that it starts to hone in more on it's essentially converging, right? It's converging to where it ultimately will be. I guess I didn't do it to just the first and second region, but you can imagine that it would just be somewhere in between, in the middle. So as we go through each market cycle, we want to use this information, right, to refit our curve in order to get a better prediction of the future. But you can see that if we had only fit it to data from before 2017, it wouldn't be that different than it is today, right? You can see that the fair value would currently be around 10K as opposed to the fair value being closer to 9K. So as we go through each cycle, I think it's going to converge. And as we do so, I mean, I think ultimately the price of Bitcoin will slowly converge over 2 or 3 decades, probably somewhere around $1 million, right? Somewhere around $1 million, maybe in 20 to 25 years. Well, we have a long way to go, and I think on that path, there's going to be a lot of profits to be made, a lot of money to be lost, depending on whether you're the smart money or the dumb money. It's all about having perspective. It is about timing the market. Don't let people say it's not about timing the market. It is time in the market. That's not true. It's time in the market, but timing the market, sure, it sure does help, right? If you're buying Bitcoin at 20K and it goes to 100K, you're up 5x. If you're buying it when it's in the regression line, when it capitulated down to 3,000 and it goes to 100K, you're up 33x. There is a huge difference in these markets that are still fairly immature, but we do know that it is maturing because we can see that the autocorrelation of the Bitcoin price is changing over time, to meaning it's becoming more mature as time goes on. Meaning if you compare the price of Bitcoin to a lagging version of itself, it's becoming less and less correlated as time goes on. So we expect, right, for us to stay within these regression lines. And if we put on, say, all of our regression lines to kind of just, which take into account all the different prices, even bubble mode, this is what you get. I'm overlaying our accumulation region regression and our cell regression, but it's getting a little messy. So let's go ahead and remove those. The dashed lines that you see are the halvings. So these are the Bitcoin halvings. You can see that after the first cycle, we went parabolic almost immediately. After the second cycle, it took a bit of time before we went parabolic. We stayed, between the orange and yellow regression bands, continued to move up slowly. Some of this doesn't look that bad, but I mean, there were 30 to 40% crashes in here. Looking back in hindsight, it looks like this is just a fun little ride, to ride Bitcoin from 200 to 20K. But for those of us that were there, we know it was hard. It was very difficult, right? Because you had to watch, you would watch it go up to, a certain level, and then it would just crash 40% like over the next couple days. So there's no free lunch in this. It takes a lot of, patience, discipline, staying resolute, right, in your goals. But again, you can see that the first cycle, we came down to between the purple and yellow regression lines. Okay, so that was our bottom there. The second cycle, we came to the yellow and orange. Okay, so we went down one. We went from this region down one. And then in this cycle, we made it down yet again, right? And we expect this. And even before this happened, I said there's a good chance we're going to come into this region just if this trend holds. And I think that going into that region is a really good capitulation region, right? This capitulation was felt around the world more so than this one over here. There's nothing like waking up to seeing your portfolio down like 55 or 60% that'll really just kind of wake you up in the morning, right? I mean, this is the gut wrench that can help fuel a bull market, okay? And for the people, and we said it all along, for the people waiting for us to return to that region, you're likely going to get left behind. It's just simple fact, right? You're likely going to get left behind. There's a chance that it works out, right? But is it worth not owning Bitcoin, right? Is it worth not owning any Bitcoin on the off chance that we return to that region? So it's all about managing your risk and just staying disciplined, right? And it's about DCAing in the right times of the market. And I've said before, 2019, 2020, and the first half of 2021 are likely our accumulation years. And later on in 2022, 2023, you're probably going to be wanting to not be accumulating anymore, For some reasons, so you can avoid long-term capital, or so you can avoid short-term capital gains, because if you hold it for more than a year, your tax rate will be a lot less, right? So looking at, say, maybe midway through 2021 into 2021 to really start scaling out. For me personally, I invest in a lot of markets, and I want to get into markets like crypto when it's time to get into crypto, and I want to get out when it's time to get out, right? This is the, get out line is a nice way of putting it up on this top region. So we can look at our peaks, right, as we've done before, and note that they come down approximately 2 log lines, right? 2 to 2.5 log lines, maybe going, and I guess I drew the circles kind of big, but you can see this one goes from the green to just below the yellow, so it's dropping around 2.5 log lines, and then it's going down another 2 to 2.5 log lines to the next peak. So if we were to project out, so first of all, let's draw the arrow so you can see going from this, around $30 to around 1,000. I think it was around $1,100, a little over 1,100. Then going from 1,100 from peak to 20K, and then continuing on out in this trend, noticing that the cycles are lengthening, not just measured from peak to peak, but also measured from bottom to bottom, which I've shown in many videos. We can tell that they're likely lengthening. And also, if you just think about it, like the amount of volume it takes to move Bitcoin from the amount of volume that it would take to move Bitcoin from, say, 20K to 140K is just going to be absolutely enormous, right? So it's going to take, I feel like it's going to take a longer period of time to do it. I don't think it's just going to be a run up to 100K in 12 months or anything. I think it's going to be longer, which just to me, I mean, it's better, right? I mean, it gives us longer to accumulate. It gives us better to really play the game that the market gives us, right? The dances between the coins, the dances between Bitcoin and Ethereum, the way that other coins interact with how Bitcoin is doing, like Link and Cardano. We've also spoken about like Tezos on the channel. We'll probably be speaking about a few more. I know VeChain is a popular one that people have been asking about. So there will be more we talk about during the market cycle, but just to give you an idea, right, this is where I ultimately see Bitcoin going over the next several years. It's just business as usual. Now, the way that we get there can look very different. We could go into a speculative bubble this summer, come back down to reality, and then continue back on our merry way. And remember, I don't think we're going to go back down to 3K. I really don't. It's possible we go back down to the 200-week moving average, which is currently over 6K. By the time if we were to go down to it, it might be 7 or 8K by the time that were to happen. But there's a really good chance that we don't go back down, right? There's a good chance that we stay above and we just continue on up. And you can see during the last cycle, we stayed between the orange and yellow band for years, and now we're between the orange and yellow band. And even if we were to fall down back to this band, it's not necessarily the end of the world, right? We can see that these monotonically increase. Sometime in 2021, the blue band, the bottom is going to be at 10K. So, this would just be business as usual as well. So whether we, stay within this band and then continuously go up, maybe we go up slower to 20K and then accelerate up to 100K. That's one thing, right? That would be nice. Maybe we see short-term bubbles along the way where we kind of go up. Maybe we go up to 14K, 18K, maybe even 20K, then come back down to 14K for a while, then go back up. The name of the game, right? Business as usual. It's going to happen. We're going to see 30%, 40% retracements. If you see a 50% retracement and it goes below the 20-week moving average, this is when you might want to take a step back, right? This is when you might want to say, okay, well, hey, what's going on here? Let me see. Should I consolidate my positions? Oh no, it's holding the support at the 20-week. Things are probably going to keep moving up. So this would be like, potential scenario. Another potential scenario, right, is we move sideways for a bit. Maybe we come back into this region and then go up. But ultimately, I think the goal is ultimately the same, right? Somewhere between a 1 to 200K Bitcoin. We recognize that it might not make it there. Maybe it makes it to 80K, right? And you might wonder, well, how do you take advantage of a situation like this if you're planning on selling at 100K and it never makes it there? Well, this is your mistake, right? Don't set an absolute value, right? What I do is I dynamically DCA in and out of the market based on risk levels, which I talk about on the channel and is provided live for people on the premium list. So before I'm going to jump into TradingView here in a minute, but before I do, I want to remind you that if you want access to the premium list, then please check out into thecryptoverse.com, right? So on this premium list, you get access to a whole lot of things, and I want to warn you, the prices are going to be going up sometime this month or next month. If you get in now, you're grandfathered in, right? You're going to be grandfathered in at the lower prices for however long, right? I mean, at least for the market cycle, for sure. A lot of people might decide after the market cycle that, they have other priorities. But if you're looking for, a way to navigate the market cycle, and you want, some mathematics, say, supporting what your approach is rather than your emotions, then I would encourage you to sign up. You get access to 6 different perks, right? So 6 different ones. It's pretty much growing monthly in terms of what the perks are. Currently, you get access to a Telegram alerts channel, which will tell you kind of like when, like I'll post like really interesting graphs on there that I don't put on the YouTube channel. I'll tell you about the risk levels of the coins, a lot of different things on that channel. You also get access to a Telegram private chat room. So you get access to a really high quality chat room with a lot of other people. So you can try to help bounce ideas off people. So this is another useful, it's a utility of being on the premium list. So those are 2 things. The third thing is you get access to a Google Sheets risk dashboard, which is what I use to trade the crypto. I look at the risk levels based on historical information for different coins. You get access to a Google Sheets risk dashboard, right, which provides you ways to look at dynamic DCA selling strategies. So you can input different types of, you can put in how much crypto you own. It's all anonymous, of course. You could just make it up, right? You could say you own, 100,000 Bitcoin or something if you want, and just see how the different strategies would play out, right? It's a projection. There's going to be some uncertainty involved, but you put in how much crypto and then what the projected peak of, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum is, what you think it is, and then it'll walk you through various selling strategies, and then you can see, okay, well, what's the difference? If I take a more aggressive approach, my potential ROI is higher, but I'm paying for it in units of risk. And if I want to maximize my ROI for a given risk level, how can I do that? And we also have premium videos that go over modern portfolio theory and how you can maximize the Sharpe ratio and develop a portfolio potentially on the efficient frontier, rather than just kind of blindly throwing money at different coins that you think sound like have a cool name, right? So you get access to, so those are 4 things. You also get access to a weekly premium video and a weekly premium report. And I want to remind people, one of the common questions I get is, well, hey, Ben, you publish a video almost every single day. I can't even keep up with some of this content, so why would I need access to the other videos? Well, first of all, the premium videos, I even put more effort into those, if you can imagine, than the public videos. Second of all, as we continue on in the market cycle, there's going to be less and less public videos. When the risk level of Bitcoin is like 0.8 or 0.9, I'm not going to be advertising that to the world, right? So, this is just something you have to consider. In the future, the public videos are going to scale back. The premium videos are going to scale up. So this is one thing to consider. And again, the prices will be going up. So if you want to get in early, with grandfathered in at a lower price, then you can pay with fiat monthly. Or if you want to pay for 6 or 12 months, you can do so with crypto. And you actually get a 15% discount if you pay for 12 months. So a lot of people like that option because they know they're going to stay on it for at least a year. So why not just get a discount? I also do have a Patreon for those people who prefer to sign up on a website that maybe they've used before rather than my own website. You can also sign up here. It's just this first tier. We'll get you access to all the same stuff, right? You'll get access to everything. It's just a matter of maybe looking at it, signing up on Patreon rather than intothecryptoverse.com. And I did get some questions about this other tier. Yeah, there's another tier. So if you're wanting one-on-one correspondence, like dedicated one-on-one correspondence in like chat rooms and stuff, or say like on Telegram and whatnot, then you can sign up for this one. I don't typically converse one-on-one with that many people. But if you really want access to the one-on-one, like you have a very specific situation and you just want some ideas of like say your portfolio and whatnot, then you can always sign up for this tier. And I haven't advertised it before. There are a few people that if they want it and they don't want to sign up on Patreon, you can do it on the website too, right? It's just you have to go to I'll put this in the link below too, or the description below. It's just VIP. It just basically all it's going to get you extra is just dedicated one-on-one correspondence with me. So if that's something you want, right, then just sign up for that. If you don't need that, right, and you're just happy corresponding with me in the private chat rooms, then you certainly don't need to sign up for it. Now, the last thing I want to do is I just want to look back at Bitcoin in TradingView. So we have our regression lines in here. You can see that we've recently moved up. If we put on the 20-week and the 200-week moving averages, let me switch it over to a weekly time frame. So here's our weekly time frame. And you can see that we're still, right, we're still above the 20 week. And remember, we know that holding the 20 week as support is what we did during the last market cycle, right? So this is what we're looking for. And you can see it happen several times. And even though we did have some pretty nasty crashes, let's call them corrections, 30%, 40%, etc., they always went down to the 20 week. It was once the 20 week broke on the weekly time frame that then it held it as support, or held it as resistance, right? And remember, once we broke the 20 week the first time, we did not hold it as support. We broke it the second time, did not hold it as support. Broke it a third time. Now, are we going to hold it as support? That's the question. I think there's a good chance that we will. You can see during the first market cycle, if we go all the way back, the first time we broke through the 20 week, we held it as support. During the second market cycle, we broke through it here, did not hold it, and then we broke through it the second time. So the first one was 1, the second one was 2, maybe the third one will be slightly poetic and say it's the third time that does kick off the bull market like we've been projecting. So if that were to happen, we're going to come back down to the 20 week at some point. Currently, the 20 week is at 94.61, so it's been moving up rather quickly. If we were to test it in a few weeks, the price at that time could be $11,000 or $12,000 if Bitcoin continues to go up in the short term. So just keep this in mind. And so you might expect to see something like that, right? Or maybe Bitcoin goes into speculative bubble mode, right? Comes up and then comes back down and tests it at 12, 13K, and then continues on up for a long time, and does something like that, right? This is what we're looking for. If only we get so lucky that it comes back down to our fair value or even undervalued, this to me would be a huge opportunity, right? We know what Bitcoin is capable of. We know that there's a good chance it's going to trend up over the years, especially with the current narrative of the economy and printing money, etc. So just keep all this in mind, right? Keep all this in mind. If you see it come down, if you see it crash like that, I would just consider it an opportunity. You recognize how quickly things can change, right? The price of Bitcoin reached $3,800 in March, and not even half a year later, it's already back up to 12K. So business as usual, right? It goes both ways, up and down. We know that Bitcoin goes up. We know that Bitcoin goes down, but we also know that Bitcoin mainly goes up. So I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Remember, if you want to sign up for the premium list, you can check it out at intothecryptoverse.com. You get access to those 6 different perks. If you would prefer, you can sign up on Patreon, and you get access to all the same perks. And then again, if you want that one-on-one correspondence, like in Telegram or occasional phone calls, then you can sign up for the VIP. It's always been listed on the Patreon site, but it's just there for the people who need it. If you need it for 1 or 2 months, then you can get the advice or get what you're looking for, right, and move on. But check it out. Check out the Telegram channel at the very least. We have a public Telegram channel, over 5,300 people in it, maybe even 5,400 now. So if you're looking for a community to get involved in, I think that would be a really good one to check out. Of course, it's my own community. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, because you can at least get access to all the future videos. If you click the bell icon, you'll even get notified of the future videos. So we'll be here through the market cycle. I hope to provide a reasonable sound in a sea of complete nonsense and noise. We look at things a little bit more rationally, try to apply some data science, quantitative finance, rather than just saying, oh, every coin is just going to go up 1,000x. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.